Forbidden love between an alien heir and a human, a miracle neither expected. Echoes across starlight. The crystalline towers of Thalassa Prime pierced the lavender sky like glittering sentinels, their prismatic surfaces refracting the light of 3 distant suns. Lyra Nova Storm stood on the observation deck of the Earth vessel Horizon, her breath caught in her throat despite her years of interstellar travel. No holographic simulation could capture the raw beauty of the Thalassian capital. Quite the view, isn't it? Captain Elliot Rhodes appeared beside her, his weathered face softened by the ambient light. 7 years of diplomatic wrangling for this moment. Lyra nodded, adjusting the collar of her formal uniform. As the mission's lead xenoanthropologist, she'd spent the last 3 years studying everything humanity knew about the reclusive Thalassians, which wasn't much. They're expecting us in 30 minutes, Rhodes continued. Remember the protocols. No direct eye contact with the royal family. No touching of any crystalline structures. And for the love of Earth, don't mention the Pulsarian conflict. I've memorized the briefing, Captain, Lyra replied, her tone respectful but firm. Her dark eyes reflected the planet's glow. I'm more concerned about what's not in the briefing. The Thalassians have guarded their cultural secrets for millennia. Rhodes nodded grimly. That's precisely why you're here, Doctor. Humanity needs this alliance, and you're supposedly the best at understanding the incomprehensible. No pressure then, Lyra muttered as Rhodes walked away. The landing platform extended like a crystalline lily pad from one of the central towers. As Lyra descended from the shuttle alongside Rhodes and 3 other diplomats, she felt the subtle shift in gravity, lighter than Earth but with a strange perpendicular pull, as if the planet itself had thoughts about where you should stand. A delegation of Thalassians awaited them. Tall and graceful, their skin shimmered with an opalescent quality that shifted colors with their breathing. Most striking were their eyes, multifaceted like insects yet soulful, capable of perceiving spectrums of light humans could only theorize about. At their center stood one who could only be Prince Zephyr Comoran. While the others wore flowing garments of spun crystal, his attire included segments of what appeared to be solidified darkness between the crystalline elements. His presence commanded attention without demanding it. Welcome, Earthborn, spoke a Thalassian to the prince's right, some kind of translator or advisor. His Luminance Prince Zephyr Comoran extends the hospitality of the 7 crystal houses to your delegation. Rhodes bowed precisely at the angle specified in their briefing. We bring greetings from Earth United. We are honored by your. You brought a scholar of cultures, Prince Zephyr interrupted, his voice resonating oddly, as if speaking through water and crystal simultaneously. His multifaceted eyes fixed directly on Lyra despite protocol. We requested technological advisors and military strategists. Why send one who studies the past of others? Lyra felt her heart accelerate under his gaze. Direct conversation hadn't been expected, especially not from the prince himself. Your Luminance, she began, choosing her words carefully, to understand a people's future path, one must first comprehend the road they've traveled. I'm here to learn, not to analyze or judge. Something flickered across the prince's features, surprise perhaps, though Thalassian expressions remained largely unreadable to human eyes. Learning requires time, Earth Scholar. The Nexury Advance does not grant us this luxury. Then we'll have to learn quickly, Lyra replied evenly. The prince stared at her for a long moment before nodding once. Come. The welcome ceremony awaits, and the 3rd sun sets soon. The crystal court is most radiant at triple dusk. The following days passed in a blur of diplomatic formalities, cultural ceremonies, and careful negotiations. The threat of the Nexury, a hive-minded species consuming resources across 3 adjacent systems, had forced this unlikely alliance between Earth and Thalassa. Yet centuries of isolation made the Thalassians reluctant partners. Lyra spent her mornings in negotiations and her afternoons exploring what limited sections of the capital she was permitted to visit. Her neural recorder captured everything, the harmonic resonance of crystal architecture, the strange circular script that appeared to change meaning depending on the angle of light, the carefully measured interactions between social castes. On the seventh day, she discovered the Garden of Sonic Blooms, a sanctuary where crystal formations grew like flowers, each emitting a unique tone when touched by Thalassian hands. She was sketching one particularly intricate formation when a shadow fell across her tablet. "You're not authorized to be here, Earth Scholar." Lyra looked up to find Prince Zephyr standing over her, his expression unreadable. "I apologize, Your Luminance. The guidance system approved my entry." She began gathering her materials. "Because I programmed it to do so," he replied. "I wish to observe how you observe us." Lyra paused, surprised by his candor. "And what have you concluded?" "That you see much, but understand little." He gestured to her sketch. "You've drawn the physical structure perfectly, yet missed entirely what it represents." "Then teach me," Lyra said impulsively. "If our worlds are to stand together against the Nexari, shouldn't we truly understand each other?" The prince's skin tone shifted to a deeper blue, a reaction Lyra hadn't documented before. Bold words from a species that has insisted on seeing the universe through only its own eyes. "Not all of us," Lyra countered. "Some of us have dedicated our lives to seeing through others' eyes. It's why I became a xenoanthropologist." Zephyr regarded her critically before approaching the crystal formation she'd been sketching. When his fingertips brushed its surface, it emitted a complex chord that made Lyra's chest tighten with unexpected emotion. "This is Sarellen," he explained. "The first formation to emerge after the Great Crystalline Awakening 10,000 cycles ago. Its song tells the story of our people's transformation, how we evolved from creatures of flesh alone to become vessels of resonant crystal." His voice softened. "Your drawing captures its physical presence but misses its voice, its history." "Then I've failed as an anthropologist," Lyra admitted. "No," Zephyr said, surprising her. "You simply haven't had enough time. Our history is not offered to outsiders." "Until now?" Lyra asked carefully. The prince's multifaceted eyes studied her. "Perhaps. Come, Earth Scholar. If you truly wish to learn, I will show you something few outsiders have seen." Against all protocol, Lyra found herself following the prince through a series of crystalline passages that seemed to shift and reconfigure behind them. They emerged into a massive chamber where the crystal formations grew not from the ground but hung suspended in midair, slowly rotating around a central column of pure light. "The ancestral resonance chamber," Zephyr explained. "Each formation contains the crystallized memories of a Thalassian bloodline. Mine is there." He pointed to a particularly complex structure that pulsed with internal light. "It's beautiful," Lyra whispered. "It is truth," he corrected. "Our entire civilization is built upon the resonant memories of those who came before. We do not record history, we crystallize it." "May I?" Lyra hesitated. "Is it permitted to record this?" "No." Zephyr's tone was firm. "This knowledge is shared, not taken. Remember it if you can, but some experiences must remain beyond documentation." Over the next weeks, a pattern emerged. Lyra would attend formal negotiations during the day, watching as Captain Rhodes and the Earth delegation grew increasingly frustrated with Thalassian reluctance to commit military resources. Then, in the evenings, Prince Zephyr would appear at her quarters, ostensibly to further cultural exchange. They spoke of history, art, philosophy, the prince proving far more curious about Earth culture than any other Thalassian. Lyra found herself sharing not just academic knowledge but personal stories, her childhood in the restored Amazon basin, her fascination with alien cultures that had driven her career. In turn, Zephyr revealed glimpses of himself beyond the royal persona, his passion for sonic architecture, his solitary expeditions to Thalassa's uncharted crystal forests. Their conversation stretched into the triple moon hours, protocol forgotten in the exchange of ideas. In turn, Zephyr revealed glimpses of himself beyond the royal persona, his passion for sonic architecture, his solitary expeditions to Thalassa's uncharted crystal forests. Their conversations stretched into the triple moon hours, protocol forgotten in the exchange of ideas. "Your species values individual choice above collective harmony," Zephyr remarked one evening as they stood on a balcony overlooking the capital's nighttime glory. "It seems chaotic." "And yours values tradition above adaptation," Lyra countered. "That presents its own dangers." "Perhaps." His skin shimmered with amber tones as he turned to face her. "Yet here we are, a prince and a scholar, adapting traditions for the sake of understanding. Is that not evolution in itself?" Something in his tone made Lyra look up sharply. The distance between them suddenly seemed both vast and microscopic. His multifaceted eyes caught the moonlight, revealing depths she hadn't noticed before. "Zephyr," she said, using his name without title for the first time, "what are we doing here?" "Really?" "Creating something dangerous," he answered softly. "Something neither of our worlds is prepared for. Understanding. Connection." When his crystalline fingertips brushed against her hand, the contact sent a harmonic resonance through Lyra's body, a chord of recognition, of possibility. Against every protocol, against reason itself, she didn't pull away. Above them, the three moons of Thalassa aligned in a rare configuration, bathing the crystalline city in resonant light. And in that moment, two beings from worlds that had evolved along entirely separate paths found the first delicate thread of something neither had expected, something that would eventually shake the foundations of two civilizations. The emergency council meeting had stretched into its 6th hour, and Lyra could feel the tension crackling through the grand crystalline assembly. Captain Rhodes sat rigid beside her, his jaw clenched tight enough to crack walnuts. Across the translucent table, Thalassian High Counselor Vexora wrapped her crystalline knuckles against the surface, creating ripples of irritated light. "The Nexary fleet has breached the outer defense perimeter of the Aldebaran system," the holographic tactical display showed red markers swarming through blue barriers. 3 Earth colonies evacuated. 2 million refugees en route to the secondary settlements. Prince Zephyr stood at the far end of the chamber, his normally iridescent skin dulled with fatigue. For weeks now, he had been mediating between the increasingly desperate Earth delegation and his own people's entrenched caution. "Our resonance cannons require 47 more cycles to reach full capacity," Vexora stated flatly. "Deploying them prematurely would be sacrificing our greatest advantage. In 47 days, the Nexary will have consumed half the remaining human settlements." Rhodes slammed his fist down, earning shocked murmurs from the Thalassian Council members. Such emotional displays were considered primitive on Thalassa. Lyra observed the proceedings with growing unease. 6 months into her assignment, she understood both sides all too well, humanity's desperate urgency and the Thalassians' methodical caution. What had begun as a diplomatic mission had evolved into something far more complex, especially between her and Zephyr. Their relationship remained carefully hidden. Secret evening meetings in the Resonance Gardens, stolen moments in the ancient crystal archives, carefully worded messages passed through trusted intermediaries. What had begun as cultural exchange had blossomed into something neither could have anticipated, a connection that defied biological logic and political sense. "Perhaps," Zephyr's voice cut through the argument, "there is another approach. Dr. Novastorm's research into harmonizing Earth defense shields with our resonance technology shows promise." All eyes turned to Lyra. She straightened, pushing aside the wave of nausea that had plagued her for the past week. "The preliminary simulations indicate that Earth's electromagnetic barrier systems could be calibrated to the same frequency as Thalassian resonance fields," she explained, activating her data tablet. "This would create a layered defense that neither species could achieve alone." As she projected the technical specifications, another wave of dizziness washed over her. The room tilted slightly, crystal chandeliers blurring into streaks of light. "Dar. Novastorm." Captain Rhodes was looking at her with concern. "I'm fine," she managed. "Just haven't slept much." Across the room, Zephyr's multifaceted eyes narrowed with concern. He could read her better than any human now. The meeting continued for another 2 hours before reaching a tentative agreement on joint defense protocols. As the council members filed out, Zephyr approached her, maintaining a formal distance. "The Earth Scholar appears unwell," he said loudly enough for others to hear. "I will assign a Thalassian healer to examine her." Rhodes nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Your Luminance. She's been working herself ragged for this alliance." Once they were alone in the medical chamber, Zephyr's formal demeanor dissolved. "You're ill," he said, his fingertips brushing across her forehead in that strange way that always sent currents of warmth through her body. "It's probably just exhaustion," Lyra replied, though she suspected otherwise. The symptoms had been building for weeks: fatigue, nausea, strange cravings for foods that shouldn't exist on Thalassa. She'd been avoiding the obvious conclusion because it was biologically impossible. The Thalassian healer, Heir, was ancient even by their standards, her crystalline elements more prominent than her original organic form. She had been sworn to secrecy about the true nature of Lyra and Zephyr's relationship. The examination was brief but thorough. Heir waved crystalline instruments over Lyra's body, each emitting different tones that seemed to pass through her rather than around her. When the final instrument produced a harmonic chord instead of a single note, the old healer went perfectly still. "Impossible," she whispered. "What is it?" Zephyr demanded. "The human carries life," Heir said, her voice trembling. "A fusion. A child of two worlds." Lyra's world narrowed to a single point. "That's not possible. Our genetic structures are completely different. Our amino acids don't even share the same chirality." And yet, the healer gestured to the scanner, which now displayed Lyra's cellular structure alongside a strange, shimmering presence nestled deep within her. "The resonance does not lie. Your body has somehow adapted to carry a hybrid life. The crystalline properties of Thalassian genetics have found anchor points in your DNA." Zephyr's skin flashed through a rapid sequence of colors before settling on a deep violet Lyra had never seen before. "How?" was all he managed to ask. "I cannot say," Heir admitted. "In all our recorded history, no Thalassian has reproduced with an off-worlder. It should be genetically impossible." "Well, apparently nobody told the baby that," Lyra said, a slightly hysterical laugh escaping her lips. She placed a hand on her still flat stomach. "A child. Their child. A being that represented something entirely new in the universe." The political implications hit her a moment later. "Oh gods. The Council. The Earth delegation. If they find out. They will use this," Zephyr finished grimly. "Both sides will try to claim the child as leverage in the alliance." Heir looked between them. "This information must be contained until you decide how to proceed. But be warned, the child's resonance will grow stronger. Soon, any Thalassian will be able to sense its presence." Over the next weeks, they met in secret to plan. The Nexari threat continued to expand, forcing the alliance forward despite cultural friction. Lyra's condition remained hidden beneath loose Earth-style clothing, though Zephyr noticed how Thalassian children would sometimes stop and stare at her in passing, as if hearing a song others could not. "We could leave," Lyra suggested during one clandestine meeting in the ancient archives. "Find some neutral world beyond the reach of both our governments." Zephyr shook his head, crystal fragments in his hair chiming softly. "I cannot abandon my people during war. And your expertise is crucial to the Earth defense systems." "Then we face this together," she decided. "We tell them on our terms, present it as a symbol of what our peoples can achieve together." Before they could implement this plan, disaster struck. During a demonstration of the integrated defense system, a power surge caused a resonance feedback loop. As alarms blared and technicians scrambled, Lyra collapsed, clutching her abdomen. The medical evacuation was swift but public. Within hours, rumors spread through both delegations. By the time Lyra regained consciousness in the Royal Medical Chamber, a political storm was brewing. "They're calling for my replacement," Captain Rhodes informed her grimly from her bedside. And there's talk of severing the alliance completely. The Thalassian religious caste is claiming abomination. Earth leadership is demanding access to you for medical examination. Lyra struggled to sit up. Where is Zephyr? Addressing the High Council. He's fighting for you both. Rhodes ran a hand through his hair. Lyra, what were you thinking? A relationship with the prince was reckless enough, but this. It wasn't planned, she said defensively. We didn't even think it was possible. Well, the impossible is currently sending ripples through your amniotic fluid that register on our seismic equipment, Rhodes replied dryly. The medical team says the fetus has crystalline structures forming along its neural pathways. They've never seen anything like it. 8 weeks after the revelation, when the political situation seemed at its bleakest, the Nexari fleet arrived at the edge of the Thalassian system. The theoretical defense plans became desperate reality. In the chaos of war preparation, a faction of Thalassian purists attempted to abduct Lyra, seeing her and the child as threats to their evolutionary purity. The attempt failed, but the danger forced Zephyr's hand. In a move unprecedented in Thalassian history, he invoked the right of evolutionary arbitration, an ancient ceremony where the planet itself would judge a contested evolutionary step. The ceremony took place in the deepest chamber of the Crystal Court, where the planet's core resonance could be felt most strongly. Lyra, now visibly pregnant, stood on a platform of pure crystalline matrix while Thalassian elders and Earth representatives watched from tiered observation rings. The question before the planetary consciousness, intoned the ancient High Priestess, is whether this union and its offspring represent true evolution or dangerous aberration. The chamber plunged into darkness. Then, slowly, the crystal beneath Lyra's feet began to glow, sending pulses of light upward through her body. She felt a strange sensation, as if something vast and ancient was examining not just her physical form but the very structure of her thoughts, her emotions, her connection to Zephyr. Most astonishing of all, she felt the child within her respond, not with fear, but with a complex harmonic resonance that echoed through the chamber. The crystalline structures throughout the room began to vibrate in harmony with this new frequency. The light show lasted for 9 minutes. When it ended, the High Priestess looked shaken. The planetary consciousness has spoken, she announced. This child is recognized as evolutionary harmony, a new branch of possibility. The resonance patterns indicate capacities beyond either parent species. A murmur ran through the gathered representatives. Zephyr stepped forward, taking Lyra's hand publicly for the first time. Then we stand together, he declared. Human and Thalassian, united not just in alliance but in life itself. As if in response to his words, a planetary alert sounded. The Nexari fleet had begun its attack on the outer defense perimeter. A touching ceremony, Captain Rhodes said grimly, checking his tactical display, but unless we can repel that invasion, there won't be a planet for your child to grow up on. What happened next would be recorded in the histories of both civilizations. Lyra, acting on instinct or perhaps on something communicated from the child within her, placed her hands on the central crystal control matrix, a system normally responsive only to Thalassian touch. Under her guidance, the resonance fields and Earth's electromagnetic barriers synchronized perfectly, creating defense layers the Nexari could not penetrate. For 3 days, the invaders hammered against the shield while Lyra remained connected to the system, her body serving as living bridge between technologies. When it was over, the Nexari fleet had been decimated, forced into retreat by defenses they could not overcome. And in the aftermath of victory, as both species celebrated their survival, Lyra went into labor. The birth took place in the Chamber of New Resonance, attended by specialists from both worlds. After 16 hours of labor that caused crystal formations throughout the capital to vibrate in sympathy, a child was born, a daughter with Lyra's dark hair and Zephyr's multifaceted eyes, her skin shifting with subtle iridescence. When she cried, her voice produced perfect harmonic tones that made the crystals in the room pulse with light. "She's beautiful," Zephyr whispered, touching his daughter's cheek with trembling fingers. "What shall we name her?" Lyra asked, exhausted but radiant. Zephyr considered for a moment. Harmony, he said finally. For what she represents between our worlds. And Novastorm Comoran for her heritage. As word spread of the child's birth, something shifted in the political landscape. The factions that had opposed the Union fell silent in the face of this new reality. Representatives from both species came to witness the impossible child who had already helped save them once. You realize, Rhodes said to Lyra some days later as they watched Harmony sleeping in her crystalline cradle, that she's going to change everything. Our understanding of biology, evolution, compatibility, it's all being rewritten because of her. I know, Lyra replied. She's the beginning of something new. Outside the nursery windows, the crystalline spires of Thalassa gleamed in the triple sunlight. Earth vessels moved in formation with Thalassian ships, their once incompatible technologies now working in harmony. And deep within the planetary consciousness, new resonance patterns formed, echoes of possibility, of futures where the boundaries between species were not barriers but doorways to evolution itself. Harmony slept peacefully, unaware that her very existence had already begun to transform two civilizations. In her dreams, crystals sang and stars aligned, and the universe whispered of paths yet to be traveled, paths that only she, with her unique resonance, could fully perceive. The story of Lyra Novastorm and Prince Zephyr Comoran would be told for generations across both worlds, but it was only the prologue. The true story, the one that would reshape the galaxy, was just beginning. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.